Good day. It's Saturday, the 27th of September, the year of our Lord, 2025. And this is Stuart Rhine with the Rhine Report, with today's discussion and analysis, which is on the historical lessons about fascism. The concept about needing to learn from history is expressed and often attributed to George Santayana, the Spanish philosopher, essayist, and novelist, who said, and I quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And that was also echoed by Winston Churchill, who's quoted as saying, quote, "Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." This concept is more relevant than ever before in human history as we face a known enemy in the former Soviet Union under Putin and the contemporaneous Trump regime threats to American democracy. While there are historians and experts on the Holocaust and Germany who fight shy of comparisons between Nazi Germany and America, there remain enough similarities to justify our investigation into lessons that can be learned. After all, there will always be differences, but there are also many components that match up in terms of tactics, strategies, and manipulations. Comparing Trump to Hitler on personal levels does not really lead anywhere productive. But remembering the past does take us from our own constitutional dilemma, tracing it all the way back to Nazi Germany under Hitler, where their constitutional republic was quickly turned into a totalitarian state responsible for the most egregious crimes against humanity ever recorded from our collective unconscious and conscious experience. The very first similarity is the fact that Hitler, just like Trump, came to power by winning a majority of the electoral vote in 1932, with only 37% of the vote, and President Hindenburg invited the Nazis to form a government, making Hitler chancellor on January 30th, 1933. Then came the famous or infamous Reichstag fire, which occurred on the night of February 27, 1933. The fire, which extensively damaged the German Parliament building, was exploited by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis to eliminate political opposition and consolidate power. The following day, on February 28th, President Paul von Hindenburg enacted the Reichstag Fire Decree, which suspended all civil liberties and allowed for mass arrests. So, in our present Trump regime, also comes to power by a political popular vote, and it has consistently used pretexts to claim extraordinary executive powers to combat wildly exaggerated and fantastical notions of crime and terrorism, to introduce a private and secret army to deal with, at first, immigration. Later, it will be dealing with citizens, flooding the streets with military, and laying the foundations for the inevitable invocation of the Insurrection Act should he need it. The National Socialists used the communists as a threat to the state, then the Jews. Trump uses Antifa, this mythical, singular organization that does not really exist. Venezuelan gangs that are designated as foreign terrorists, and out-of-control crime in the cities to rationalize extreme measures to possibly end, abridge, or curtail civil liberties in America. He may even manufacture a fake war to crush his opponent's free speech, corrupt and control, or even cancel free and fair elections, and so on and so forth, and he'll do it with the help of the military. Going back to Germany, upon the death of Paul von Hindenburg in 1934, the office was just left vacant, with Adolf Hitler becoming head of state as Führer und Reichskanzler. That is the leader and the chancellor of the Reich, in accordance with the law concerning the head of state of the German Reich, and that was retroactively approved by a referendum. On September 15, 1935, the Nazi regime announced 2 new laws related to race. First, there was the Reich Citizenship Law, and that was followed by the Law for the Protection of German Blood and German Honor. These laws, and informally, became known as the Nuremberg Laws or the Nuremberg Race Laws, and were enthusiastically endorsed and designed by the German judiciary used to scapegoat and target German Jews. He used his well-thought-out ideas on disinformation and propaganda to inflame public opinion against Jewish fellow citizens. Likewise, the Trump regime, for example, uses the death of Charlie Kirk to incite violent reactions to those falsely claimed to be radical leftists responsible for Kirk's assassination. Trump has, in the same fashion, run a massive campaign of disinformation and scapegoating against the Latino immigrant community, and has created an ICE Corps, operating as an extrajudicial police force, private, used by him to arrest immigrants, detain them, and deport them, mostly without even a modicum of due process. ICE being a direct comparative to Hitler's use of the SA and Gestapo in purging all dissent and opposition. Trump has, like the Nazis, he has begun to arrest and prosecute political opponents and other critics of him and his corrupt regime. And just as the judges in Germany were known accomplices in designing and accepting the Nuremberg laws, the Trump regime has been greatly reliant on the United States Supreme Court granting him an absolute presidential immunity against any criminal prosecution for crimes he may commit and will commit while in office. And that has opened the doors to totalitarian rule and absolutely crushed a now impotent and rather disheveled constitution. Although American and Nazi political, social, and economic circumstances may be very different, the methodology, the road to extremism and absolute power and tyranny is very close indeed, and we who oppose the establishment of a 1984 society must learn this important lesson. Whether or not that is going to be enough is an open-ended question. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I've got a huge problem with Google and YouTube, and I know I'm being shadow blocked. And at this moment in time, I can't even reinforce my videos with clips from other videos, as opposed to the big-time users who seem to have no trouble doing so. So I am not violating any copyright laws, and there's such a thing called fair usage. Thank you.